There's no such thing as an atheist, Matt. You know that.
No, I don't know that. As a matter of fact, if all
Gotta
you're
have,
going to do,
gotta have.
this is so bloody embarrassing, Ray, for you just to keep coming in and starting something. I genuinely do not believe that a God exists.
Yeah, but you know that you need total knowledge to be an atheist. That's what.
No, you don't. No, I'm not asserting absolute certainty that there are no gods. Atheism is the position of not accepting that there is a God. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't accept that there's a God.
Hey friends, so glad you clicked. Pull up a chair because this one is a ride. Today we've got Ray Comfort, the evangelist behind Living Waters, sitting down across from Matt Dillahunty, longtime host of the Atheist Experience. And the question on the table is whether the gospel actually makes sense. It starts polite, but the moment they start pulling on the threads of free will, evidence, and what atheism even means, the whole thing tightens into a real back and forth where neither man gives an inch. Stick with me right through to the finish, because the sharpest exchange doesn't show up until they're deep in it, and it's worth the wait. And while you're settling in, do me a favor and drop a comment telling me what part of the world you're watching from. It honestly makes my day seeing how far this reaches. All right, let's get into it.
So what you're saying is you have a book that tells you something, so you can't possibly be wrong. And yet I'm looking at you telling you that you are in fact wrong about what I do or don't know.
That's right. So, Matt, you remember the prodigal son?
Yes.
Why did he go to a far country? Remember, he said, Dad, give me all my money. And the Bible says he went to a far country. Why do you think he went to a far country?
I don't know, probably looking for change.
No, he was wanting to get in with prostitutes. And I'm sure he didn't want to do what he wanted to do under his father's nose because he knew his father.
What's wrong with prostitutes?
What's that?
What's wrong with prostitutes?
I didn't say anything was wrong with prostitutes. I said he went to a far country to get away from his father because he wanted to go and visit prostitutes. And he knew what he was doing wrong and his father would frown upon it. But this is what evolution is. Oh, sorry, this is what atheism is. It's a far country. You want to get as far away from God as you can because God demands moral responsibility. That's what my instruction book tells me. It says, you love darkness rather than light because your deeds are evil. Neither will you come to the light, lest your deeds be exposed. Atheism or atheists stay away from the gospel and hate the light for the same reason criminals hate the police. They'll call them pigs. They'll kill them, even not because of who they are, but because of what they stand for. And Matt, that conscience is on your heart and it's on my side. And when we go through the commandments to talk about adultery and lust, fornication and pornography, we know in our heart we're morally wrong in God's sight.
Except we don't. First of all, I don't know anything in my heart. I know things in my head, but I'm fine with the colloquial and the poetic. Okay. So first of all, what the prodigal son story says is that he basically he ran off to go live a wild life. It doesn't say anything at all about prostitutes, correct? Is there a single version of the Bible that mentions prostitutes in that story at all? All of them? Where?
Because the older son came to his father and said, your son went and visited prostitutes. It's in the scripture.
Yeah, but that doesn't, okay. So the story is that he left to go live a wild life. Prostitutes may be a part of that, but you seem to portray that as his primary motivation. I just wanted to know where it says that was his actual motivation. It seems to me like a fairly typical story of, I don't want to live here on the farm. I want to take my inheritance and go off to the big city and see what the rest of the world's like.
Right.
Okay.
And you know what brought him to his senses? He began to desire pig food. And that's what you need to realize, that your desires are unclean in the eyes of God. All of us are. That's what brought me to Christ. When I realized I was burning with unlawful sexual desire and that God being holy had seen my thought life and I was in big trouble on judgment day and would justly end up in hell, that brought me to my senses. And that's what I'm hoping will happen to you today. You'll say, boy, if God is holy and perfect and he's seen my thought life, my sexual desires are unclean. All of us do. We drink iniquity like water. So we're like moths to a flame when it comes to pornography. I mean, when did you last look at pornography?
Today.
Yeah. And so you're addicted to it like every male.
I'm not addicted to it. There's no such thing as porn addiction, but I'm definitely not addicted to it. But also, you haven't demonstrated that there's anything wrong. You come in with this package that begins with, like, the entirety of your opening is, and you're right, it was Mark 10:17, but I think you said Matthew 10:17, and I was going with Matthew 19:16, so that was the thing. I had them both in the notes there. You talk about, hey, somebody came up and paid your fines for you, and that I'm the king of straw men.
Yes.
All right. God created the world, right?
Yes.
And did God know everything that would happen in this world?
He's omniscient.
God knew that I would be an atheist.
There's no such thing as an atheist, Matt. You know that.
No, I don't know that. As a matter of fact, if all you're going to do, this is so bloody embarrassing, Ray, for you just to keep coming in and starting something. I genuinely do not believe that a God exists.
Yeah, but you know you need total knowledge to be an atheist. That's what.
No, you don't. No, I'm not asserting absolute certainty that there are no gods. Atheism is the position of not accepting that there is a God. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't accept that there's a God.
Right.
Okay. Did God, that's what I'm going to call atheist. I'm a non-believer. Did God know I was going to be a non-believer?
He knows all about you, Matt.
Okay. Could God have created a different universe where things went differently? Where, for example, I became the preacher that I set out to be?
Yes.
Okay. So if God created this world where I end up an atheist, instead of the world where I end up a believer, then God made the choice that resulted in this particular universe over another one, correct?
Yeah, but Matt, this is like
but there's no but here. God made the choice that resulted in this universe. No, I've just made an ironclad argument based on your own statements that God is the one that is ultimately responsible for choosing the universe in which I'm a non-believer as opposed to choosing the universe where I'm a believer. That means that the ultimate responsibility for that decision is not mine, but his.
You have to understand why this is such a devastating move. And Matt does it so calmly, you almost miss the blade going in. Matt said this, so what you're saying is you have a book that tells you something, so you can't possibly be wrong. And that is the whole problem with the setup Ray walked in with. If your only evidence is a book, and that same book tells you anyone who disagrees is lying or blind, then you've built a machine that can never be checked. It just keeps telling you you're right, no matter what reality says. And here's what people don't realize. Every single time Matt asks for something concrete, Ray reaches straight back into the same book. Matt said this, you haven't demonstrated that there's anything wrong. That's not Matt being difficult. That's the most basic move in any honest debate. Show me. Don't tell me my desires are unclean. Don't tell me what's written on my heart. Demonstrate it. And notice Ray never actually does. He asserts, he preaches, he describes Matt's inner life like he's got a scanner pointed at the man's soul. Then Ray tries the oldest trick there is, the claim that deep down nobody is really an atheist. And Matt just refuses to let him rewrite reality. Matt said this, I genuinely do not believe that a God exists. Simple, honest. And it drives Ray up the wall because his entire model depends on Matt secretly agreeing with him. When your argument requires telling the other person what they really think, you've already lost the plot. But here's the part that blows my mind, and it's the cleanest logic in the whole exchange. Matt takes Ray's own belief, an all-powerful God, an all-knowing God, a God who could have built any world he wanted, and he just follows the trail to the end. Matt said this, I've just made an ironclad argument based on your own statement that God is the one that is ultimately responsible. That's the trap snapping shut. If God knew, and God could have chosen differently, and God picked this world anyway, then the responsibility lands upstairs. And the wild thing is, Ray built that conclusion himself, one yes at a time.
Oh, let me address that because you brought it up before in your first straw man. Or one of the first. If you stand in front of a judge in a court of law and you're guilty of committing a serious crime and you say, God maybe did it, God maybe do it, it's not my fault, it's original sin. That's why I raped that woman, so it's God's fault. It's not going to hold water even in a civil court.
That's not what I'm remotely saying. So first of all, I don't recognize that there's some God that has authority over me. You're telling me I've broken God's law. I don't recognize that there is a God or that God's law can be broken. That's just the thing. I'm not making a case that says I, in fact, in reality, am not responsible for my actions. I'm saying that under your model, since God made the decision to create the universe in which I become a non-believer, as opposed to creating the universe in which I become a believer, God is the one that is responsible. He's decided everything. Everything has happened according to God's plan. There is no free will in your model. There is no individual responsibility in your model.
The fact that you're choosing not to believe in God's existence.
I don't choose. It's not a choice.
Free will, Matt. We know that. It's just ridiculous. So,
okay,
Matt,
well, I'm sorry, but just simply making assertions and saying something's ridiculous is not an argument and it's not evidence.
Okay, let me say something positive here, and correct me if I'm wrong. An atheist is someone who believes the scientific impossibility that nothing created everything.
No, you're wrong. None of that has anything to do with atheism. Atheism is a single issue. Are you convinced that a God exists? If the answer is yes, you're a theist. If the answer is no, you're an atheist. You can be an atheist and believe all kinds of really silly stuff. You can believe that you can deny science and think that vaccines cause autism. You can deny science and think that the earth is flat. That you can do all of those things as an atheist. Atheism isn't a worldview. There are things that are, if you don't believe in a God or if you don't believe in the supernatural, which is separate because some atheists could in fact believe in the supernatural. I don't. I don't see any mechanism by which we can demonstrate the supernatural is real. This is, how many years have we, granted, it's been a number of years since the last time you and I interacted, but this isn't the first time somebody's explained to you how I use the term atheist. I know because I've done it before myself. So why are you coming back to me to say that here's what atheist means when you know damn well from all the past conversations we've had what I mean by it?
Richard Dawkins, Lawrence Krauss, P.C. Myers, and 7 other leading atheists
are not in this room and would agree with me.
Let me finish. They believe, and I have quotes in a video online called Crazy Bible, in which Dawkins, Krauss, P.C. Myers, and other well-known leading atheists believe the scientific impossibility that nothing created everything. Not that nothing was in the beginning. They believe nothing was the prime mover. Is that what you believe?
No.
So what do you believe created everything?
I don't have an answer for what or if anything was created. I have no problem with the notion that the universe existed forever in some form, but none of those, this has nothing to do with atheism. That's not the definition of atheism. That's not the usage of atheism. Atheism doesn't tell you anything about what someone believes about the origin of the universe. Atheism addresses what someone does or does not believe about a God.
Not true. You watch Crazy Bible, it's had over 1 million views, and it gives the definition of atheism. It says these guys believe nothing created everything, and they say what was in the beginning. They say what they believe was in the beginning. There was nothing, and the nothing created everything.
Well, good luck getting a debate with them, but today you're here with me. So can we address what my position is, or are you just going to keep straw manning me with what other people have said?
This is where Ray reaches for a courtroom, and it backfires on him on the spot. He wants to paint Matt as a guilty man in front of a judge whining it wasn't my fault. But that was never the argument, and Matt calmly refuses to be turned into a cartoon of himself. Matt said this: "There is no free will in your model. There is no individual responsibility in your model. Sit with how sharp that is." Matt isn't running from responsibility for his own life. He's saying that inside Ray's own system, where God knows everything and arranged everything in advance, the whole idea of people freely choosing just collapses. You cannot have a God who scripted every outcome and then act shocked that people played their scripted part. And then Ray does the thing that makes this section a gift for the other side. He tries to define his opponent out of existence. Ray said this: "An atheist is someone who believes the scientific impossibility that nothing created everything." That is not a definition. That's a straw man with a bow on it. And Matt doesn't bite. He just resets the actual meaning. Matt said this: "Atheism is a single issue. Are you convinced that a God exists?" That's IT. Not a theory of the cosmos, not a claim that nothing made everything, just a yes or no to one question. Watch how many times Ray tries to load extra baggage onto it, and watch Matt hand it right back every time. Here's what really gets me. Instead of arguing with the actual human being sitting across from him, Ray keeps quoting famous names who aren't even in the room, and Matt finally calls it for exactly what it is. Matt said this: "Can we address what my position is, or are you just going to keep straw manning me with what other people have said?" That is the entire debate in one sentence. You cannot beat a person by fighting a version of them you invented in your head. And every time Ray runs to what some other well-known figure supposedly believes, he's quietly admitting he can't answer the one right in front of him.
Well, Lawrence Krauss won't debate me. He gave me 4 questions when we met together. I wasn't allowed to ask any more because he's afraid. It's Dawkins.
It's what?
Dawkins won't debate me.
Of course not. Why should he? Why should anybody? If all so first of all, nobody should be debating you, because you flatly said in the last attempt at a debate we had that you don't care about debate and you don't care about proof. And in this discussion, your entire position is predicated on an assertion that there is a God who is the judge of the world. And then let's take a look and see if the Bible makes sense if we begin with that presupposition. But you cannot look at it, you will not, you refuse to look at it as if we don't begin with that presupposition. You've provided 0 evidence. All you've done is make one assertion after another, right out to telling me I'm wrong about what atheism is. How monumentally arrogant is that?
Oh, this is the tell. The second Ray gets cornered on his own definitions, he doesn't tighten his argument. He starts name-dropping famous atheists who supposedly refuse to debate him. Ray said this: Lawrence Krantz won't debate me. He gave me 4 questions. And who cares? That has nothing to do with whether Ray is right about a single thing. It's a flex, not an argument, and Matt sees straight through it. When you can't win the point, you change the subject to how important your past opponents were. And Matt's answer here is the most important thing said in this whole stretch. Matt said this: nobody should be debating you because you flatly said in the last attempt at a debate that you don't care about debate and you don't care about proof. Let that land. Ray walked in openly admitting his goal was never to prove anything. It was to preach. So the entire frame was rigged before a word was spoken. You cannot call something a debate and then announce that evidence was never the point. And here's what people don't realize about why Matt keeps hitting the same note. This is a burden of proof issue, and it is far older than either of these two men. Back in 1952, the philosopher Bertrand Russell wrote about imagining a tiny teapot orbiting the sun, too small for any telescope to ever spot. His point was simple, and it is well documented: if you can't prove the teapot isn't out there, that does not mean anyone is obligated to believe it is. The one making the claim carries the weight. Ray keeps flipping that upside down, demanding Matt disprove a god, when the entire burden sits on the person insisting the god is real. So when the pressure hits its peak, pay attention to what Ray actually puts on the table. Nothing testable, no demonstration, just more insistence, louder. And Matt finally says the quiet part out loud. Matt said this: you've provided 0 evidence. All you've done is make one assertion after another, and he is right. Go back through the entire thing and try to count the actual pieces of evidence. There aren't any. There are stories, there are feelings, there are confident declarations about what Matt secretly knows deep down, but not one thing you could ever check. And then the line that makes this clip so satisfying. Matt said this: telling me I'm wrong about what atheism is? How monumentally arrogant is that? Think about the nerve it takes to sit across from a person and tell them what they believe, what they know, and what's hiding in their heart, while offering nothing to back it up. That's not confidence. That's a man who has mistaken certainty for truth. And the beautiful part is that Matt never needs insults to win it. He just keeps asking for evidence again and again, and the silence where the evidence should be tells you everything. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.